across America, people are looking for the one thing that could make all the difference in the world. A chance. It's how we do things. We believe everyone, customers, associates, neighbors, deserves a place to grow. It's why we hire employees from all walks who have something to give and want a chance. So every day, we work to do everything better, because every day matters when you're trying to live.
This video today is to describe my own experience of having been an employee of Wal-Mart. In this way, everybody who tries to go up there and apply for work will know before you get there why Wal-Mart is not a fair and an impartial employer. To begin with, I worked for Wal-Mart for approximately 2 years. During that time, the store that I worked at began to do things that were kind of disreputable. At one point, the store was being investigated for embezzlement. And what happened was basically the management team there at the store fired all employees who had any knowledge of these events, what were happening in the store. Now, when they fired everybody, they had to come up with different reasons for why you were being terminated. And in my case, they said it was customer complaints. But then in the actual final interview, which is basically you're told in a private conversation with the store manager and someone else in the room why they were terminating you. The individuals who were at this orientation made accusations against me personally that I was having a sexual relationship with an employee that was working there. Now, they were doing that for one reason, to intimidate me even further so that I would figure I don't want anything to do with you people anyway. But when the store was actually investigated and they were actually charged with embezzlement, what happened after I had already left the store was that the management team were either demoted in position or they were transferred to other stores. Now, this happened in 1993. And anyway, what I've learned since working for Wal-Mart after that happened, number one, when you're fired, it stays on your record at Wal-Mart forever. I tried several times after I left this company to come back and work again. And they said, if you've ever worked for Wal-Mart in the past, don't even think about coming back again, because they said you will not be reconsidered and it's just a waste of your time. Now, they said that on several occasions that I came in and tried to apply for work. And really, the whole reason for why I was fired was because of an actual bogus statement or claim that was made by management, because they wanted no witnesses who could actually testify against them when this embezzlement came up. Now, for Wal-Mart to advertise that commercial you just saw implies that, number one, they give people second chances. That's a lie, because I have never been allowed to come back to work for Wal-Mart. Number two, it implies also that they're fair about how they treat you when you come to work for Wal-Mart. I can tell you from my own experience of having been employed at Wal-Mart, they don't care about you. If they have problems within their store, they're going to use whatever excuse they have to make up to get rid of people that they feel could jeopardize their positions, their opportunities for advancement, and that's what they did to me. And they made it very clear to me when I was fired that day, you will never be allowed to come back to Wal-Mart, but more importantly, you will not be allowed to get unemployment insurance or to get any assistance from the state as far as getting help about finding another job, because of the fact that their reputation was going to destroy any chance you had to find work. And I can say, yes, that was absolutely true, because I did not find employment for almost 2 years, or at least a year and a half, before I actually started working again. Now, another issue. When I had been fired from Wal-Mart, the issue came up of a actual customer who sued Wal-Mart for the claim of unsafe working conditions, or at least that as a customer they were in the store and this man insinuated that he had slipped on a bottle of motor oil in the automotive department. Well, ironically enough, I worked there at the time that this happened. So what happened basically was that I'm not an employee of Wal-Mart. So they had some attorneys to approach me and say, if you help us testify in Wal-Mart's behalf about what you saw and what happened that day, we will help you get back your job with Wal-Mart. And the claim that they made, which I found out was bogus also, is that I would receive financial help as far as whatever money Wal-Mart made from, discrediting this customer's account. They would pay me. And so when the case was over, I went back to the law offices and I said, well, what about this stuff you said you were going to help me with? They said, we don't know what you're talking about. So I went to the judge who was in this case and I said, these people made all kinds of insinuating promises to me, and they never held up to it. And this is what the judge did. He laughed and said, oh, they all do that. They all say that. In other words, he confirmed that lawyers lie to witnesses and those who testify because they already know that what they're telling you is just so that you'll cooperate with them. Not so much that they'll actually help you to get anything because of what you do on the behalf of the of those who are being sued or whatever. So when this whole thing was over, I got only basically witness payment for going and to testify, and that's it. Never got a chance to go with Wal-Mart. Never got a chance to do anything as far as being considered to be able to return. And quite honestly, in the 20-something years since this has happened, I'm glad I'm not working for them. Number one, because they're not a reputable company. And two, because from my experience as a customer in the store, I guess I should bring this up too. I went to the Wal-Mart in Noonan, Georgia. I went in there one night. I bought a pizza, took it home, and I fixed it. I got violently ill. I had to call 911. They came out to the house. They took me by ambulance to the hospital. And according to what the doctors told me, I was suffering from food poisoning. And apparently this pizza that I had bought had defrosted out of the freezer. And then somebody took it back and they put it back in the freezer. Well, I took it to Wal-Mart. And I told them, I said, I've got medical expenses here because of something that you sold that was poisoned or food poisoned. They took no responsibility for it. And they said, if you want us to, we'll have it analyzed to see whether it had food poisoning. They destroyed it. So I never had any evidence or proof of what happened to me. So I ended up having to pay all the expenses myself because of what happened as far as this event of the food poisoning. And Wal-Mart never took responsibility for it either. And ironically enough, I recognized this manager at the store where this happened. You won't believe it. He was one of the assistant managers at the original store that I worked at, who was actually demoted and transferred to another store because of that embezzlement that was going on as far as the investigation. So in a nutshell, I would say anybody who watches this video, do not believe, do not trust what Wal-Mart tells you because they are lying through their teeth. And I can tell you from my own experience of being an employee of Wal-Mart, they don't care one rat's ass about you as an employee. And if you think they're good to you now, I can promise you they won't when the matter becomes serious and they have to find some way of justifying getting rid of you. Because if you know anything about what they're doing in that store illegally or that is of a questionable value, they will get rid of you. And that's the end of it. And I was. And you know, what really hurt me the most about what happened to me when they fired me was that they made up those accusations about the fact that I had a friendship, a very, very good friendship with an employee who was also working in automotives. They fired her first. And she already had a boyfriend. So for them to accuse me of having some sort of a relationship with her was just a way of, as I said in the beginning, it was a way to intimidate me. But I always resented the fact that they made up those lies in order to keep me from saying anything. Another thing Walmart did not ever do when that investigation was going on, they didn't try to seek out the employees who had been fired and ask them to testify or to say anything about what happened. I guarantee you that store management destroyed any and all records about employees who were there during that time that these things were going on, so that when the investigation took place, there would be no evidence as far as people that they could call or contact to ask about what had happened there, because they never did. And I went over to the manager's, he ran 2 different Walmart stores at that time, went over to Alabama, because he was running that store. And I asked him right after I got fired, I said, this is really an unfair scenario here, that they fired me because of, a bogus claim about these complaints. Because they said after 3 complaints you get fired no matter what happens. And he made accusations that, well, this is the policy. But then he said to me that he was going to help me get unemployment, because at that time I had no income. I had nothing. And he never stepped forward to help me. He never did anything to help. So what I'm saying in a nutshell is that Walmart, even in the 1990s, was very much self-centered. It was concerned with only itself. It never cared about the employees. And I would say after 20 years, it's no different a company. It's probably even worse, because when you go in there and you shop, if you really look at what you're looking at in that store, it's how Kmart was back in the 1980s. They had it going good. They had really good merchandise, but the customer service sucked. And that's exactly how it is in Walmart today. They don't care about you as a customer. All they care about is your money. And if you go in there and you're trying to find something, half the time they're going to just ignore you, or they're going to act like, well, I don't know. Go find it, and that's exactly how they treat people. So I would say to anybody watching the video again that Walmart as a company is not reputable, and it should never be considered by anybody except for what I call virgin applicants. What that means is you have no previous work history. You have perfect credit history, because that's another criteria they always look for when they hire people. They want to know, do you have bills that you haven't paid? Do you have bills that have piled up and you haven't been able to pay them? All of that stuff is a part of the stipulation of what Walmart looks at when they consider somebody for employment. And you know what? There are a lot of other good companies out there that could be as fair, if not better, of how they treat you as a human being, as an employee of that store, than Walmart. I would even recommend you go to Kmart, because there are so few Kmart stores, but it really isn't any different a company than Walmart, because when Sam Walton died, and I was working there at the time he was still alive, it was a totally different company than it is now. As a matter of fact, people don't realize this. I'll tell you a little secret. Sam Walton, who started Walmart, went to all his stores. You know how he got there? He rode in the semi-trucks of his fleet. All of his store trucks that transported the merchandise from store to store, that's how he got there. He rode with them in the trucks. He didn't have a limousine. He didn't have an airplane. He just kind of hitched a ride, and that's how he got from place to place. And what does that say about a company? The guy was so greedy about money, he was more concerned about saving it than he was in showing people how community involved he was. In other words, he'd show up in the truck, get out, and somebody would say, hey, what'd you do driving this bum around town, or something. And that's the impression I got. So, thank you all for watching, and I hope I gave you some really good insight as to what Walmart really is, because it is not a good company to work for. Thank you.